Hare Krishna, my name is Pradyumna Mishra Das. I grew up in a small town in Austria near Vienna. With my parents, I have two brothers. My parents had a house and we lived a very normal family, normal Austrian family. And we grew up very nicely. We had a very nice childhood, we had a very nice family atmosphere at home. I was not brought up very religious. Religion was not a big topic in our family. So I was going to normal school. I dropped out of school very early at 15. I had not much interest in going to school. I find it kind of boring to go to school, so I wanted to make something more practical in my life. And I started to work when I was 15. I was working as a locksmith, like metal work and doing something with metal and something like this. And I did this like for 4 years, and I can say my interest in philosophical or spiritual topics started at around 16, 17. I got some esoteric books and I had some friends. We were like talking about it, and mainly we were like interested in this world, how this world is working and what's all about it, about life and everything. Because I was not really satisfied with like the common idea about this world. I mean, more or less, you don't have so much of a very broad idea about this world. In the West, general, it was all about having fun, make some parties. Of course, I was also doing a lot of parties and had a normal. When I was young, I had a car and we went to parties and disco and was drinking But beyond that, we always was questioning, is there something more in life? And our teachers couldn't give us answers, and our parents couldn't give us answers, and other friends couldn't give us answers. So we were looking around, and this was around 2001, 2000, and we read different books, about Tibetan books and some esoteric books and about the Aboriginals. We were reading different stuff, so our interest of more, let's say, esoteric, more spiritual topics, increased a lot. And I specifically had one good friend of mine. He's still a very good friend. He is also now in the Hare Krishna movement. He was very, let's say, enthusiastic, to get some more ideas about spiritual life, and he gave me a lot of input, and we together were looking for different ideas and new books and so on. And he met first time devotees in Vienna, and he bought some books, and he came home to my place very enthusiastic with the new books he got. And it was like Science of Self-Realization, and I think he got also the Bhagavad Gita, and he brought it at home, and he was very enthusiastic that he met devotees on the street, and they invited him in the Sankirtan van, and he was eating with them some bread and butter. He was very enthusiastic about the bread and butter. I didn't understand what's so special about bread and butter. Now I can understand this was a special bread and butter. So he was very enthusiastic and brought the books to my home, and told me all about it. And he said, in 2 weeks there's a temple opening in Vienna, and he said we should go there. And I said, okay, well, we can go there, no problem. So this was this was 2001, you know, it was the first time in the temple. It was actually short before the 11th of September, you know, when the plane crashed in the World Trade Centers. It was short before that, when the first time in the temple, and there was Pretu Prabhu, the Prabhupada disciple. He was there with some of disciples of himself. They came from Germany. They opened the temple there. It was a simple flat in the town of Vienna, and you know, there was just a regular Sunday feast program, and there was, you know, some people there. And we came a little bit earlier, so with one devotee, he explained us everything about, you know, karma, reincarnation, and, you know, some basic stuff. And then was Pretu Prabhu also. He invited us in his room, and he was very personal. He didn't, you know, speak much philosophy in the beginning to us. He was just, you know, telling some private stories about himself, and I found him very, you know, the first time I saw him, I find him very nice, a very gentle and, you know, heart-warm person. But still, it was the first visit in the Hare Krishna temple, and for me was, you know, I expected something else, because, you know, it was saying on the flyer it's a temple opening, and I was thinking, okay, wow, we're going to a temple. So I was thinking like some, you know, Indian temple kind of thing with a big altar and some special atmosphere. But it was more or less just a very simple flat, and very normal flat, and some table they used as a, you know, as an altar, and it was nothing special. And they chanted Hare Krishna, and for me the first time it was, yeah, I have to say, a little strange. You know, it was everything new, and I couldn't so much relate to it. Still, you know, my good friend Ananda, his name is Ananda, he was very enthusiastic, and he immediately went to the book table, and he said, and he looked at the books, and he saw the Srimad Bhagavatam set, and he said to me, I want to have this Srimad Bhagavatam set. And I said, okay, well, buy it. And you know, there's a lot of books. I think it was like, you know, 14, 15 books or so. It costed some 100 euros, and he wanted me to pay for it, because I was the one who was working, who had money, and I was like hesitating, you know, I should really buy the books. But he was so enthusiastic, he said, please, please, please buy these books, you know. So I said, okay, let's do it, you know. We bought the whole Srimad Bhagavatam set on my first visit in the Hare Krishna temple. Okay, well, I think that was my first kind of direct service I did, and you know, we brought the books at home, and, you know, my friend started reading it. I didn't understand much of it, so I didn't read much at this time. So, you know, some weeks gone on, there was this 11th September, which is actually also my birthday, and this was a very, you know, I had a party in my home, and then, you know, the plane crashed in the World Trade Center, and it was a big thing, and we were talking the whole night now that, you know, that everything will change, the whole world will change, and the Third World War will break out, and whatever, you know. So we were like a kind of very scared and enthusiastic at the same time. And, you know, we went on. I went like 2-3 times to the Hare Krishna temple, and then short after that, another friend, a very good other friend of mine, he died in a car accident. And this was my first very direct experience with death, actually, that someone close to me died. And this was a very deep realization I had there. You know, I was seeing his body there lying, I mean, in the, you know, in the crematorium. I was seeing him there lying in his dead body and everything, and this was it was a very deep realization, very deep impression to me, and I had to think about, you know, life deeper. And, you know, in the year 2000, the beginning of the year 2000, I wanted to do, you know, some changes in my life, because, like I said, I was not really satisfied with the world I got to know, and everything seems to kind of, you know, make no sense anymore in my life. You know, just to work my whole life, you know, maybe get a family later and have kids, and just work my whole life, and you know, I thought like, okay, that's nothing special. I want to have something more in my life, and I have always this deep feeling in myself, there is more, there has to be more in life than just, you know, these things we can perceive with our senses. So I had a deep desire to travel. I had some money, put some money on the side, and I wanted to travel, and I thought, okay, let's go to Australia. That was my first idea, to get some big backpack and go to Australia and travel around, hitchhike and this kind of stuff, And I was telling my friends about it, no one was so into it, so no one wanted to come with me, so I had to go alone. And anyways, and then we went one time in the Hare Krishna temple, and I also was telling the devotees there that I want to go to Australia, And they asked me, "You're going alone?" I said, "Yes." And they asked me, "Why are you going?" "Yeah, make some experience in life." And I said, "Okay." And then one devotee said, "Well, we're going to India. Maybe you'd like to come with us." So I was thinking about it. India, yeah, it's also nice, also very spiritual, I was thinking this time, Australia, India, sounds good also. And I said to them, I will think about it, So then weeks passed by, and then this one devotee was calling me one time and said, "You want to come to India now or not?" And I said, because he said, "If you want to come, you have to come today to the temple and pay the ticket," because they wanted to book the ticket. And I was like a little stressed. I was like, okay, actually I want to go and I don't know. So I was asking my friends, you want to go to the Hare Krishna temple, we can talk about them. And nobody wanted to go with me, so I had to go alone and said, and I can remember I was really mental about this, should I go or should I not go, and should I fly to India or not. And anyways, something in my heart said, okay, let's do it, So I just went to the Hare Krishna temple. I went to this one devotee and I said, okay, let's go to India, put the money on the table. And a few weeks later I was sitting in the airplane to India, my first time. And I went to like 4 or 5 Sunday feasts in Hare Krishna temple, and I sneaked a little bit in the book, so I had no idea about Hare Krishnas actually, not much, just a little bit on the Sunday feast. And the first place we went was, we landed in Delhi and we drove to Vrindavan, so that was my really first deep impression of the Hare Krishna movement. And I came to Vrindavan and asked the devotees, okay, what we're gonna do here? And he said, yeah, there's the temple, and we go every day to the temple. We wake up very early and we go to Mangal Arati, and if you like, you can dress dhoti and kurta and this kind of stuff. And I said, well, okay, I do it. And just surrendered kind of, to the devotees, because they were really nice and treating me very nicely. So I came there the first day, I put on dhoti, kurta, and bought a bead bag, bought myself a japamala, and chanted, started to chant my first rounds in Vrindavan, which was very, I realized afterwards, which was very nice experience. And the only thing I didn't want to do is shave up. Some devotees, said, yeah, I like to shave up. I had, nice hair. I still had hair in this time. So I was not into that. I said no shaving up. Anyways, I started to chant in Vrindavan. We've been there for some weeks, and for 2 weeks or so, and had classes and chanted every day. We went on parikrama, had a lot of association, and I very soon realized that my whole consciousness is like changing 180 degrees, and I really could feel that really something is happening to me. Something, I couldn't understand exactly what, but I could really feel and then understand that there's a plan behind the whole thing, and there's some purpose behind it. Why I'm here now in India, in Vrindavan, and why I'm doing these kind of things. And I said, okay, anyways, I have nothing to lose, and back in Austria there was no girlfriend waiting for me, there was no job I had, there was nothing much I had to lose, so I just said, okay, I will surrender, I just do it. And we went on to Mayapur, and like I said before, with friends at home, we always had this idea of changing the world. So it's always like a big idea from us, somehow we have to change the world. This was, since young age I had this idea of, we have to do something special in this world. And I can remember I was sitting in Prabhupada's Samadhi, actually on the top of the roof. I was sitting, and I had this deep realization that, you know, I was sitting in Mayapur, you know, this is a big spiritual city, and right now we're also in Mayapur. And I was realizing that, you know, there is already someone who's changing this world. I had this deep, you know, this realization in Mayapur in the Prabhupada Samadhi, and you know, I was going in this museum in Prabhupada Samadhi, and you could see all the pictures what Prabhupada did, and I read also the biography of Prabhupada, and it was that he, you know, in such an old age, he was going to America all on his own with no money, and you know, out came a worldwide spiritual movement. And this impressed me so much at this time that I really had this sense, okay, you know, everything is already there. There is already a big movement. There's already someone who is changing this world, and there's, you know, a lot of followers who helping him in this regard. So I was at this time a really strong feeling. I also want to be part of that, and yeah, so my spiritual life really started there. So when I came back from India, it was actually, I was really in shock actually. Of course, you know, I was 1 month with the Hare Krishnas, traveling in India, and got very, very deep, you know, spiritual realizations and realizations about myself and about this world and about how I see this world. And when I came back from India, it was everything so different, you know. And I could see, you know, my friends and, you know, my old friends I had there in the past, they are just continued, you know, of course with their normal life, you know, going to parties and, you know, wanted to see girls and want to get drunk and, you know, take drugs like this. And I could see that everything is so, you know, superficial, and everyone is trying to impress each other, and everyone is making a show off about himself, and I really see that no one is actually very natural and behaving natural and normal and actually is being happy. You know, I could really see that everyone putting up a big facade of himself, you know, everyone running around with a mask in front of himself. And I also could see when I'm, you know, back in my home country again, then I could see that there's some certain energy, you know, pulling me back in, you know, in this environment, in this, you know, I would say like in a play, you know, that everyone is trying to impress, you know, everyone is kind of on a false ego, and you know, no one is really like himself, and there's always some, you know, something strange going on, and you know, you get sucked in again, and you also can see your old habits are coming up again. You know, you also want to impress others and this and that, and I really could see myself. I don't want it anymore, and that was my, you know, this was my first realizations back there, and I also could see that I cannot. After having, you know, seen Vrindavan, seen devotees, having this association with devotees, I cannot really just go back to a normal life, so-called normal life, and just do the things I did before. And I had to say it was also difficult. It was not like completely easy for me also, that I said, okay, now I can give up my old life and, you know, just drop it. And you know, I had to kind of fight with it also, that I have to, you know, balance, you know, what I want, what I doesn't want, but very soon also at home I had this strong desire to also, you know, get to know more about Krishna consciousness, and I really want to see, okay, what is Krishna consciousness all about, and what they really have to say, what's the whole philosophy behind it, and what's the whole idea behind it. Because after all, it was just 1 month in India. So I, you know, asked if I can move into the temple in Vienna, and they said that they agreed. They also had a Bhakta program running, you know, Bhakti program where new people coming in and get to know the Krishna Consciousness philosophy. And I was living in a temple in Vienna, and we had everyday courses, and I had a nice teacher, a nice Bhakti leader who was explaining us the philosophy very nicely. And I can also then kind of realizing and deal with my own self there, and I could see why I'm having troubles, you know, why my mind is kind of always a little bewildered, and why I'm mental, and he was, you know, the devotees were helping me a lot, and especially the Bhagavad Gita and the scriptures were referring to my life. You know, there's the three modes of material nature, Tama, Rajas, and Sattva. You know, and I could really relate to the philosophy that we are not this body, that there is some past life, and so many things may click after, you know, one after another. So many realization, and the whole concept of the Krishna Consciousness philosophy makes so much sense to me, and I really had to say it became much more happy in my life, and I really could feel, okay, I really can say that I found something in my life which really gives value to me and really makes me happy after all. So I was studying some time in the temple, and you know, they had some nice programs going on. We're going on Harinams, doing some music outside. We had Sunday feasts, and also I went out on Sangadan, book distribution, and I liked it a lot also in the beginning, just approaching people on the street, telling about my life, telling about my changes, telling about these books, and that was a really nice experience also for me, that I can do such things. And I learned many other things. I started to cook in the temple, actually a lot. You know, I never liked cooking in my life, but suddenly in the temple I really liked to cook, and we had some, you know, one, two ladies who can cook quite well, and they showed me how to cook, you know, how to deal with spices and Indian spices, and with vegetables, and you know, how to do different things. And slowly I became, you know, I cooked myself, and I cooked a lot of Sunday feasts and cooked for the devotees, and had a lot of pleasure in doing that. And yeah, so I became one of my main service to cook. It was one of my main service in the temple. So around 2006 I moved to Germany, to Leipzig, this is near Berlin. I got to know my good wife, Sudevi, and you know, we got married in 2010, and because I liked cooking so much, I started a prasadam business also around this time, and you know, doing some catering, had a restaurant, doing some festivals with prasadam. And yeah, we got two kids, my son Vamana and my daughter Padmini, who is a little bit shy from the camera.
Yeah, I met my husband in 2008, 2009 in the temple in Leipzig. I was new Bhaktin and entered in this Hare Krishna world. And he was more advanced devotee, had a brahmachari life behind, and was now working. And so I met him just in the evening programs, when he came after his work to the temple. And in the beginning, I was not really interested in a relationship. I was more interested in being more Krishna consciousness and learn more about this world. But yeah, somehow it came up, and we matched together. And in my first journey to India, we came closer to each other. And 2 years later we married, and that's it.
And yeah, so we were living the last years in Germany, near Leipzig, and I mainly do work in the summer, doing festivals and, you know, selling prasadam, So our desire, because we moved a little bit away from the temple, like 1 hour from the temple, and our desire to become more close again with the temple, close to devotees, increased a lot. And especially for the education of our kids, we decided to move to Mayapur. This we did last year, so we're here since almost 6 months. And yes, we're very happy about that we make this move to Mayapur and being more close to the devotees again and the temple. And we're going back in the summer doing some work, but we want to come back again in August. And for us, I can just say, in the comparison to the life I had before, you know, it makes such a huge difference, and I could really see that Krishna is giving us so much, you know, giving us actually everything, and I'm very, very grateful, and I'm very happy to have Krishna in my life. And yeah, like I said, you know, I've got a very nice, beautiful wife and nice kids, and living in Mayapur and having, you know, I have to say I'm very grateful and very happy to be here.